This is awesome. Woohoo! Look at that. Hey guys, it's Dan from Shasta Bubba Adventures, and I am at Elk Summit in central Idaho, right in the heart of the Selway Bitterroot Wilderness. And I think it's fair to say that this is probably one of the most remote places that you could drive to in the lower 48 states. Hold on, wait a second. I'm supposed to be in the Great Burn area. What am I doing almost 50 miles south of there? Well, this is how that came about. I have two extra challenges facing me today. The first is, sorry about the throat clearing, but the first is the fact that it's so smoky. Take a look at this. I'm up pretty high in elevation, but that should make breathing a little bit of a challenge. Second thing is that there was just a huge storm that blew through this area. This is not too far from Missoula, Montana, where they clocked winds in excess of 80 miles an hour. Unbelievable for this part of the country. Tons and tons of downed trees. Driving up here, I was really worried that I would even be able to get through. Thankfully, someone had come through and cleared the road. But I'm pretty sure nobody's cleared the trail yet, so there might be a ton of blowdown on the trail. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for coming along. Let's go see. This is already looking pretty grim. Crossed 7 blowdowns already. This is 8 to 9. Well, 15 trees in the first 15 minutes. That does not look good. So I'm going to do something really rare. Between the deadfall and the smoke, I'm going to pull the plug early, mainly with the hopes that I can still drive somewhere else fairly close and a little more north to be out of the path of the storm. Don't know what I can find, if I can find anything, but for once I'm going to pay attention to the signs and try to go with a plan B early. Okay, so now we're going with plan B. I've been driving for about 3 hours to get to this place. A lot farther north than where I was, so I got out of the smoke. And hopefully I got out of the path of that storm, so there won't be as much blowdown on this trail. But the downside of that is I don't really know where I am. I kind of do. It's in the Big Burn area, just south of highway or the freeway 90. There's a place called Greenwood Cabin that I'm sort of heading in that direction. Well, I'm definitely heading in that direction. Don't know if that's the destination or if I might want to go a little beyond that. We'll see what it's like and what it takes to get there. This is quite the adventure. Gotta love plan Bs. Look at this beautiful trail work that's freshly done, like in the last week or so. Can't believe my luck that I went from a trail that was in horrible shape and probably will take a year or more to clear to a trail I just stumbled on that's had fresh maintenance. That's pretty cool. This is the first real glimpse I've had of where I'm headed. The stream I've been following down in there. Okay, I swear to God, I just said out loud the words, I think I took the wrong trail and I gotta find a place to camp. And look at this. This place just appeared. Tailor-made. Seems like a person could probably get away with sleeping here. This looks awesome. Oh, look at that. Fire ring and firewood. Of course, we're in stage 2 restrictions, so no campfire, but still, it sure looks homey. Perfect. All right, I got my home all set up. And that's looking pretty appealing right now. But before I can hit the sack, I gotta make some dinner. All set to fire up the stove. So I'm just having a little peak refuel beef stroganoff tonight. It's pretty good. Nice to have a warm meal once in a while. And looks like I did about 6 miles and 1,400 feet elevation gain, which is pretty good considering it was almost 4 o'clock when I started. And I did go off on the wrong trail, but actually I'm happy with that mistake because this is the trail that I originally wanted when I was scoping things out, because this is the trail that goes up into the high country. I was talking to some very kind horsepacker people at the trailhead and getting ideas from them because they knew the area a little better, and they kind of talked me into going on an easier trail that would have been just to the north of here. Mainly just because there was a decent campsite within reach of when I was starting. So didn't know about this beautiful campsite, and if I had, I definitely would have come this way anyway, because this is the trail that goes to the Siamese Lakes, Well, I've had dinner. I did my bear hang over in the corner there. So I think I'm going to hit the sack pretty quick, even though it's god awful early. But I'm kind of tired. It's been a long day, even though I was mostly driving. And tomorrow, get to go up and see the high country and see what that looks like. So stick with me, and I'll see you then. Well, good morning. I didn't sleep real well last night, kind of restless because I was on the edge of cold all night, which is kind of strange because I'm using my 0-degree quilt and was wearing the down coat. But I am kind of in a shaded hole here, and there was a little bit of a breeze, and I did stupidly leave the flap of the tent open all night. But I'm starting to think that maybe their Sea to Summit Etherlight pad just doesn't have the insulation that you need. I've been using the Nemo tensor the last few times, and I don't think I've had any particularly cold nights with that. I believe the R value is only like 1 difference between those two, but I'm starting to think maybe the Etherlight is a problem for that. For me, for someone who is an extreme cold sleeper, maybe I need every advantage I can get. But anyway, I should warm up pretty quickly with this 1,800 feet elevation gain in about 4 miles up to the pass, looking down over Siamese Lakes. And I really don't know where I'm going after that. Today is a bit of a mystery, so looking forward to getting up there and getting a better idea of where I want to go. Might be spending another night out in the woods, might be bailing and heading for home, I don't know. So come along and let's find out what happens. I'm thinking that whoever is doing the trail maintenance, oh, that's pretty, must have camped the same place I did, used it as a base camp, and worked downhill, because the fantastic trail maintenance seems to have ended right here. A little brushy heading on up, but looking forward to getting up there. That's cool. Beautiful morning, not smoky at all. Hope it stays that way. Only 15 minutes down the trail. Here's my first stream crossing. Not too happy about this because it's still about 50 degrees out. But you gotta do what you gotta do. That's a good way to wake you up in the morning. The brush has not been as bad as that first meadow. It's still brushy, but easier stuff to push through. Someone actually has been through here and done a little trail maintenance. Cleared off some of the deadfall. So that's cool. Another stream crossing, but I'm taking the log this time since it's so handy. Not that I'm terribly dry. So I've been hiking for half an hour and pretty much flat terrain, so I'm thinking that 1,800 is condensed into about 3 miles. Looks like there is quite a bit of smoke settling in. Doesn't seem like it up close, thankfully. I think I can see the trail. Chilkoot Pass. Wow. Even with the smoke, it's amazing. So I've decided to follow that T, and it looks to me like it's gonna go out along that mountainside. I think it's all along right there, and then goes over just around the tip there, right by that tree, and just to be able to look down on Siamese lakes. Don't think I'll climb down to them, but thought it'd be worth a little extra effort to just see them. I just took a little detour up over this ridge to see what the view was like on the other side. I'm glad I did, because there's another neat little lake down there. Be probably a nightmare to bushwhack down to it, but you would have it all to yourself for sure. Well, I think this is as far as I go. It's tempting. Looks like a beautiful little lake. And I met a couple who spent the night there last night. Said there was lots of spaces to camp and nobody there. And I guess the twin must be up in that upper basin up in there, because there is two lakes, so that would be something to do if you wanted to base camp and scramble up to see that. But it's only noon and I think I've got a lot more miles in me. Heading back that direction. And that's when I made my big mistake. The trail that I actually wanted was the one that went down past the lower Siamese Lake. Instead, I would go off on the wrong trail, and it went from bad to, well, you'll see. This is looking back the way I came and the way I'm going. That's the little ridge that I climbed up to look down on that little lake. And right about there is the T that I came up to, that Chilkoot Pass, and you can just see the trail going around the tip of that mountain. Well, I'm back to that trail junction, the T at the top of the pass, and it just took about an hour for that little detour. Pretty happy with that, because I was guessing it might take 2 hours, and that's including a break for lunch. So now I just need to head on up this trail and around the tip of that mountain. Well, it's too bad about the smoke. I don't know if you can make that out, but you can see most of the lower Siamese Lake. And just over here, the very edge of the upper Siamese. Again, too bad about the smoke, because this would be an absolutely stupendous view. It still doesn't suck. there's a stretch of grass that I lost the trail in. Not too worried because you can't get too far off. Looks like that might be it. Well, we might be bushwhacking for a little while. Just along the ridge here. Well, that looks like it there. Okay, well, a little extra trail finding. Once I get off that ridge, it's not too hard to stay on track. Hopefully it'll stay that way. That sure looks like a lookout tower up there, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a tall tree. Now you can see plainly it's just a tall tree up there. Although it sure would be a good spot for a lookout tower. Well, I'm definitely off trail scrambling now. Keep seeing things like this that look like the trail, but they peter out pretty quick. But I think I need to head in this direction to find it. And maybe there's a limit of how far I can go in this direction, which might be useful. Well, I'm up on that high spot where I said it should be a lookout tower, and it's a nice view. Came around the edge of that mountain and then all along this ridge, and over there is the mountain that I went along the edge of to go over by Siamese Lakes, and that drainage is the one I came up. So this is a completely different drainage. I think it's the one I need to go down. Well, I was going to say that the GPS wasn't helping me because I was going to drop down over this edge and thinking the trail would be around there. But the more I look at it, the more I think I see the trail along the edge of the mountain there. So I'm going to head over that way, which is what the GPS says I should do. Well, that was a little nerve-wracking crossing that avalanche chute, but this does kind of look like a trail. Sometimes it pays to get up at to a high point where you can look around and get the lay of the land. What do you think? You see the trail? I know I'm going down in that drainage. I seem to have finally found the trail again. Still pretty faint, but makes me pretty happy to get on even a faint trail after bushwhacking across that side hill. Starting to run into a lot of blowdown on this trail, and I'm still kind of above the tree line right at the edge of it, so I'm kind of wondering what the rest of the trail is going to be like. Oh baby, this just keeps going on and on. Giant pickup sticks. This trail is just in absolutely horrible shape. If anybody wanted to go this way, my advice would be don't. I think that the Forest Service must have pretty much abandoned this trail by the way that it's so poorly kept. You gotta be willing to be okay with losing it and refining it from time to time. This is the mess that I'm in. I know that the trail is right in front of me and it zigzags down on a bunch of switchbacks right through this little chasm. It should be leaping out, but of course I can't see it anywhere. Well, I finally spotted this piece of survey tape, and there's another one down there. Doesn't look like much of a trail between us. Well, if I look pretty rough, it's well earned. It's almost, well, it's 6:45, and I've been bushwhacking and root finding, I can't remember how long, I think since about 3 o'clock. Been a brutal trail. I think this is probably in the top 5 of hardest trails I've had to navigate. At least now I think I'm on a pretty clear, well-defined trail. There's actually a little bit of, you can see some log cuts, so tiny bit of maintenance up this far. I'm hoping it just gets better and better, and I can get down to that stream real fast because I've been without water for about an hour or two. I gotta figure out what the name of this stuff is. This is what makes that bushwhacking just nightmarish, because you just can hardly push through it, and it rips up your shins like crazy, and you can't see the ground to know if you're stepping flat or stepping into a hole or maybe stepping up into a log. Really glad to be back on the trail, because that stuff is a nightmare to bushwhack through. Speaking of shins being chewed up, those have seen better days. Oh man, never been happier to see a stream. You're wondering why I'm drinking so freely from that stream. I'm not worried about treating it because it's just coming right up off that mountain that I just came down from, so I know that there's nothing going on up there that I need to worry about. I'm getting down there, but it seems like it's taken forever. I made it all the way down to this T. I wish I knew which way to go for the closest campsite. I'm thinking this way. This is Fish Creek. I think it's the West Fork of Fish Creek that I'll be hiking along. Oh, check out this amazing cedar grove. Beautiful. Well, good morning. It was so late and I was so exhausted when I pulled into camp last night that I didn't do any filming. It was about 8:30 or even a little after that, too dark anyway. And I just threw up a shelter and ate some quick cold food and went to bed. And that is my stealth site, by the way. Buried amidst these awesome cedars. Well, that was quite an ordeal yesterday coming off that mountain. I must have face planted 4 or 5 times, and by that I mean literally face in the dirt all the way down. It's an absolute miracle I didn't break anything or sprain something, or at least break a pole, but nothing was damaged permanently except my shins maybe. But I did get through it, and this morning I only got maybe about 4 miles to go to the trailhead. I did want to acknowledge that the Kakwa pack did fantastic through that very heavy bushwhacking. Don't see any signs of wear on it, so that's a good testament to the durability of that material. It's the original, it's the original material, which I'll have to put on the screen because I can't remember what it is. All right, getting a late start because I slept in a bit, but should be no problem getting to the trailhead. Let's go. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge this absolutely amazing tree that has fallen. It's a cedar and it looks like it just fell this year because the branches are still green. We tend to kind of take these for granted when they're standing all around. Sure, it's cool, but when you see it laying down, it just really brings home how noble and astonishing these trees are. And then, you know, that one is a good one, but it's not even the biggest around. All kinds of them that big or bigger, and with awe when you stop to think about it. Check out this campsite. Was about 3 minutes down the trail from where I stopped. I suspected there might be something because the GPS says that there's actually a ford there, which is crazy. I guess you could do that log walk. Pretty nice, but I think all in all, I prefer my stealth site. This is just right on the trail. Beautiful though. Stupendous. And that's the trail that takes off on this side. Might have to come back and explore that. I think I'm beginning to understand why they call it Fish Creek. With all these boulders and down cedar trees, there's just a huge number of beautiful looking fishing holes. Right on the edge of those cedars I got into a burn area, and it's growing back. A little brushy. Pretty flowers though. Turns out I was only about 3 miles from the trailhead, which makes a total of 24 miles roughly for this trip, and elevation gain of about 3,500 feet and just as much in loss. Trailhead is called Clearwater Crossing, which is a little confusing because it's at the confluence of Straight Creek and West Fork of Fish Creek. So I don't know where the Clearwater designation comes from, except it certainly is very clear water. And there's the truck. Woohoo! Happy to see that. One of the things I wanted to test on this trip was this new handy dandy mini igloo cooler that my wife got me to see if it would hold the ice and a cold beer for several days. And it failed. Well, the ice is gone, but the water is still ice cold. So maybe that's not a fail. Well, the ice is gone, but the water is ice cold. So it's pretty close to a success. Yeah, I'm gonna call that good.